And hello and welcome to the Peapod. Yes, it is Tuesday afternoon, 5 o'clock. You know what happens. We have fun. So come on in, find yourself a spot, and let's just have a good time together today talking about peace. The Peapod is a podcast about peace. I'm Teri Angel, also known as Mama Peace, and I'm delighted that you've chosen to spend some time with us today. Imagine with me for a moment a world without constant conflict, a world where respect for diversity is the norm, a world where understanding replaces fear. I know it sounds utopian, but that's the world we dare to dream of, and that's the world we strive to build here, one conversation at a time, inside the Peapod. Here at the Peapod, we believe peace isn't just the absence of conflict, it's the presence of justice, it's the celebration of diversity, and most importantly, it's something that begins with each one of us. Robert Fulghum says peace is not something you wish for. It is something you make, something you are, something you do, and something you give away. I love that. The Dalai Lama said world peace must develop from inner peace. Peace is not just mere absence of violence. Peace is, I think, the manifestation of human compassion. So let's begin this journey of manifesting peace in our world, shall we? Here at the Peapod, we don't have all the answers, but we promise to ask the right questions and to bring in those that we can hold conversation with about peace and inner peace and how we can have more self-love and self-compassion in our lives. So today I'm bringing in a very special lady to spend some time with us. Her name is Randy Peyser. And Randy, I hope I pronounced that correctly.
You did.
Okay. Randy edits and ghostwrites books and gets authors book deals with literary agents and publishers. Her clients have been featured on Hallmark TV and Daily Mail TV, in Oprah Magazine and Time Magazine, on the Wall Street Journal and USA Today bestseller lists, in airport bookstores and FedEx offices and Office Max stores, and more. She is the author of Crappy to Happy, as featured in the movie Eat, Pray, Love. I love that movie. The Power of Miracle Thinking, and the Write a Book program. Her website is www.authoronestop.com, which is streaming across the page right below us. And if you look up the word in the word savvy in the dictionary, a picture of Randy appears. That's a quote by David Tyerman, a branding specialist. Randy, I am so glad that you're here with us today. Welcome to the Peapod.
Yeah, you're very welcome. I mean, speaking about peace is one of the most important conversations that we can be having in this time, in this era.
Absolutely. It's been on my heart and my mind for decades. And the last 3 years has been totally dedicated to peace. I'm on a peace mission to do that and spread more information about peace in our world. So it's an exciting adventure to talk to people and give some hope and inspiration. I think that's the key, isn't it? When we can give hope and inspiration to people, then we can see the evidence of peace popping up in our world.
I was thinking about this exact question actually just this past week, and I realized that there are situations that just feel completely out of our control, circumstances and situations. But there are situations and circumstances that are within our control. And to see when we actually can be at choice to create greater peace in our own lives. And I want to give us an example of this. So, over the past 2 weeks, I had two different people bring their personal dramas to me, very intense personal dramas that each of them was going through, looking to me to rescue them. And one was a financial thing. Can you loan me money? It's like, and I felt like the reaction in my body in both circumstances, I felt frosty. I'll say, I was like, oh, it just ignited my nervous system, and not in a good way. And I realized that was my body telling me, this does not bring peace. This does not bring joy. This is not energy moving up. This is going to take me down. This is going to lower my frequency, my vibration, for those who resonate with terms like frequency and vibration, which are so popular in our
Yes.
language now. And so I realized, I didn't have control over their reactions. I mean, their circumstances, but I do have control over my reaction and my response. And I can do so with kindness, with compassion. They're both in very difficult circumstances, but I can gently and firmly say no and hold my no. And it's so important for us to be able to hold our boundaries, because for people who want peace, we're givers.
Oh, yeah.
It's natural for us to want to give and to rescue and to save and to caregive and everything. And I'm not saying that it's not wrong to do that. I'm saying for me in that moment, I was at choice, and my choice was a very clear no, in order to maintain my own integrity and my own energy in that moment, in those moments.
Randy, I just want to jump through this screen and hug you because what you are talking about is standing in your divine authenticity. When we do that, when we know who we are and we know that we are magnificent and we are loving, because that's what we're made of is love, then we're going to respond with love. That doesn't mean that we're pushovers. It doesn't mean that we're going to say yes every time there's a question or an ask, but we have to use some discernment and what is best in the situation. If we gave in every time somebody needed something and we're just like pushing out the money and the energy, we're going to be drained. So I am so proud of you. That's awesome. And thank you for sharing that because it's a great testament to how.
I have a lovely friend. Yes, I have a lovely friend, Sheila Rad. She calls this developing your life muscles. And
Mm-hmm.
it's really, really true, because if we don't learn the lessons now, guess what? They repeat. They come in stronger and harder until we get whatever that lesson is.
Yeah. And I certainly don't want to repeat any of mine. There have been times in life where I've gone around in a circle and ended up back at square one, and I go, how did I get back here? Because I
Of
didn't get the
course,
lesson. Yeah, I didn't get the
we're
lesson.
human. We're human. We do the best we can in each moment. That's what I can say. That's what I aim to do. For a living, you mentioned I help people get book deals, especially first-time authors with traditional publishers. But this is how I come to every single call. I come to every single call that I'm on when I'm speaking with somebody, learning about them and their project, with absolutely no agenda and no attachment. The only thing that I want for each person is what is highest and best for them. And if each of us approaches every conversation that we have with a potential client, with friends, with whoever, in any situation, with only wanting what is highest and best for each person, first of all, it fills my heart. It fills
Yeah,
my heart to be able to give in that way.
yeah, absolutely. What we give out, we get back.
Yes,
And
yes.
isn't
And it
that
may
the
not come
beauty?
from that person, but it comes and it flows. So I
Exactly.
spend more time in joy because of it. Because all I care about is, what is highest and best for this person? If it's a book deal, I'm thinking, how can I tip the sale in their favor? I'm always looking, what is the ad there, the bonus, the something that's gonna push them into something that's really, really good. And
Yeah.
one of the things that's so important, I learned one of the most magnificent lessons from Susie Orman, of all people. Susie
Oh,
Orman,
okay.
here she is, like, money guru goddess on,
Yes.
major TV shows. And I was editor in chief of a Mind, Body, Spirit magazine. And she told me this story that is, I've shared it, a gazillion times because it's so powerful. And it's something that everyone on listening in could benefit from hearing. And the story is one that I call Anger Repels Wealth. And so this is what happened. So Susie Orman was telling me she's in a limo stuck in gridlock traffic in downtown New York. And she looks out the window of her limo and she sees a man squatting on the sidewalk. And as each person walks by, he's just saying, "Got a cigarette? Got a cigarette?" I mean, he's thinking he's not even asking for money. He just wants a cigarette. So she looks in her wallet and she has $75 in her wallet. She decides, I'm going to blow his mind. I'm going to give him all $75. And she said, I had my hand on the door of the limo. I was about to open it, and this couple walked by him. And when he said, "Got a cigarette?" and they didn't respond, he spit in their direction. And she said, I took my hand off the door, and she said, he didn't know what good was about to come his way, but his anger repelled it.
Right. Right.
And that is such a story for all of us, wherever we are holding anger, negativity, resentment. And resentment, I'll tell you, resentment that's unresolved always explodes. It always results in an explosion unless you get it handled, unless you actually talk to the person or somehow neutralize that trigger, that energy. It will. That was my experience of resentment over the years.
Right.
So, where are you holding anger or resentment or unforgiveness? These are
Yeah.
tough things. I'm not saying it's easy, but I'm saying that it's repelling the good that you need and the good that you want
It sure is. And
and the
what a
peace
lesson.
that it brings.
Yeah. We do call into us what we are. I heard a quote just in the last couple of weeks that we don't manifest what we want, we manifest what we are. And the story that you showed really exemplifies that, doesn't it?
It certainly does. And so I want to talk a little bit about forgiveness because forgiveness can be incredibly tough. There's the man, I think his name was Bill Thetford or Don Thetford. It was maybe Bill, the one who sat with Helen, the woman who channeled A Course in Miracles. And it's a quote that's attributed to him. And he was talking about forgiveness, and he said, "Just drag the bastard in. Let's just drag the bastard in and forgive him." And it makes people laugh. It made me laugh to hear that. But there's truth in that because we hold onto the "I'm right, you're wrong" dichotomy, the us's and
Yeah.
the thems. And yes, they can be wrong. They can be totally wrong, and how painful that is. But the act of forgiveness, you know, what is it really? What does it bring? And I had a personal experience that was beyond the earth plane regarding forgiveness that I'd love to share with you. So
Please.
back in my 20s, I'm in my 60s now. So when I was a youngin, back in my 20s, I was working for a city in California, and I worked for a man who was very harsh, and that would be an understatement. He was an intimidator. He was mean. I witnessed his harshness, his intimidation towards other workers, not so much to myself, but it was so stressful just to be around a person that was so intensely negative and angry and always taking it out on people. And it was horribly stressful environment. And I would think about this guy over the years, and I never had a kind thought. And so I decided, I need to do some forgiveness work. And so I did. And over the years, I thought, yeah, I forgot him. Forgiven him. And then I realized I really hadn't, because then I could still come up with the bad words when I thought about him. And then about 7 years had gone by, and one night I had a lucid dream, and I hadn't been thinking about him or that city job I had worked. But he came to me in this dream, and he was pointing at a chalkboard because this was before whiteboards and dry erase markers. And he was pointing to a chalkboard, and I said in this lucid experience, "Oh, he's teaching me something." And in that second, I received a transmission of love that's greater than anything I'd ever experienced on earth. Now, this man had died, 7 years prior. And there he was. I felt making his amends to me beyond the veil. And
Yes.
it made me realize that the only place that all of us are ultimately going to is love. That's it. That's it.
Yeah. Oh,
That's why we're
100%
here.
agree. Yes. 100% I
And
agree with
and so I asked myself, can I be that love now?
you.
So if I go into discord with anyone, if I can't get all the way back to love, I work on getting back to neutral. I work on getting out of the trigger. What can I do? What's my responsibility to own? What's under my control? Are my emotions under my control? Or are they under the other person or the other situation's control?
Yeah.
Who's in charge here?
Who's in charge? That's a great question. Um, and talking about forgiveness, it really isn't about that other person. Forgiveness is about you, clearing your own energy and clearing whatever happened. It doesn't even matter what happened. It's that energy that's left behind.
Yes.
What's there that keeps coming up for us.
It's amazing to me because, here I work in publishing. I've helped people get book deals, like one book, Slave, a human trafficking survivor finds life, and the horrific situations the author went through as a 4-year-old boy whose mother turned him over to a messianic sex cult leader. I mean, it was the hardest book emotionally that I've ever edited. But you know what? It's been optioned for Hollywood film. And that man has gone on to help all kinds of people now.
Sure.
And he's out speaking and doing his part. And I mean, it's very difficult circumstances what so many people go through. And what's the best that each of us can bring to each situation?
Yeah. And talk about a hard one to forgive, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Having
In
to
his
set
case,
aside.
with a mother who stayed true to the cult after
Right.
the horrific things she put him through.
Uh, well, bless you, Randy, for bringing that forth into the world. My organization's a nonprofit, Angel Speakers, and this year we are taking on education about human trafficking. That's one of our goals and one of our things that I'll be doing as I travel around the country. So, what you just shared is very near and dear to my heart. So, thank you.
Yep. Yes. You're
Yeah.
welcome.
It's so needed to get more word out there and let people know that there is help and we can all do our
Yes,
part. Yeah.
that's true.
Yeah. So, Randy, I'd like to know some more about you personally. We heard what you do, and I'm so excited to talk more about to you because I have 3 books coming up to be published this year. So, so I'm very excited to talk behind the scenes. But I'd like to know more about you. Where did you grow up? What's your story?
Okay. I grew up in Connecticut. And, I came to the San Francisco Bay Area in the 80s um, um, to pursue my life there. I felt pulled. That's the best way I can say it. It was just this intuitive feeling this is where I need to be. And I was there for many years until I moved to Nevada, where I am now. And I do a lot of music. I'm a musician. I play
Yeah,
many instruments. I do a lot of art. I right now I'm into watercolors. You might be able to see for people watching behind me on the wall are these little figures. Those are the popsicle people made out of popsicle sticks. They're whimsical um, figures made out of colored popsicle sticks and other bits and pieces. And I do a lot of art,
I
and I
noticed
write
that
books.
earlier. Yeah,
I write
beautiful.
books. One of the books that's near and dear to my heart that I'm working on, and I'm actually looking for submissions for. So anyone who's listening might have a story for me or knows somebody who might. I'm writing a book that's to help people go through chemo. I went through it through breast cancer, chemo, and radiation back in 2012. Most difficult experience personally I've ever been through. And so when I went through chemo, there was no way I could have read a book from page one through page whatever. But if I could have opened up that book to any page and just found one little nugget that would help me get through the day, because if you're going to be submitting a little nugget for this book, it helped you get through the day. And so that's what this book is, a book that can be open to any page. There's one thing. It's an action, it's an affirmation, it's a mantra, it's whatever it is, a piece of advice, just one little thing that's going to not scare the heck out of someone because you're already scared going through a cancer experience, but just something
Uh,
that's really going to help and make a difference, a positive
yeah.
difference. That's what that book is. So I am looking for submissions for it.
Beautiful. All right. Well, I know that there's somebody out there who's going to hear that and jump on it. I went through breast cancer myself twice, and the
Mm,
last time was 2019, and I had a double mastectomy. But I was so blessed to not have to do chemo. So yeah, it was
yes,
still quite a journey. Even without that, it was
yes.
still a
Yeah, it is.
huge
So even,
experience.
for anyone who's been on the cancer journey, maybe you didn't go through chemo, but maybe you have something that's going to help somebody get through that experience. So, I
Yes.
want to make, sure that, you're welcome as others are. Well, like I'll give you an example of a couple things I did that people don't think to do, but it made a huge difference in my treatment and my experience. On the day of surgery, before anyone touched my body, I thanked them for saving my life.
Oh,
People don't think
yeah.
to do that. I was in one of the phases that day. There was all different procedures, and I said that to a nurse, and she said, "No one's ever thanked me before." She had tears in her eyes. I said, "Oh my God, you're saving my life. You
Hmm.
deserve to be thanked." And
Yes.
it really made a difference in the quality of care I received, because
Mhm.
when I first walked in that morning and I saw the guy who was going to do the first procedure, when I had the biopsy, the month before, he treated me like I was number 30 on the table for that day. I didn't even have a name. He didn't talk to me. He talked over my head. But when he came in that day and I said, "I want to thank you for saving my life," he turned into a human being. And he
Mhm.
talked me through the entire procedure. When he was complete with his part of the procedure, he put his hand on my shoulder and he said, "You'll get through this. It'll be okay." I mean, he
Oh,
turned into a human being just for being
yes.
thanked. So, people, if you're going through medical anything, thank those people. Thank them for saving your life.
Oh, what a great tool. Thank you. That's what happens with gratitude. Gratitude can change the grumpiest face into a smile. And I've seen it
It
happen
did.
myself.
It did.
I give out gratitude cards that say I'm grateful for you, and I've noticed when I give them to somebody who may be having a bad day, you can just tell that they're not in that good space, and they read those words, and it's instant transformation. It really is. It
Yes.
just does something inside when somebody says thank you or I'm grateful for you. So Randy, what a
Yes.
great tool.
And we have the opportunity to uplift others. We all do,
Yeah.
from wherever we are.
Absolutely. It's a choice. We make choices every moment of every day. And we
Yes.
can choose to be in high vibration and make somebody's life better, or we can just stay in that grumpy state if we're in that and not lift ourselves up. But wow,
Yep.
what an inspiration talking to you. Thank you for all of these nuggets that you have shared with us. That's
Yes.
wonderful.
You're welcome. I've had a couple experiences like the one I had with, the gentleman who came to me and made amends from beyond the veil. And I
Hmm.
had another experience one time where I learned of a man who had passed, who I only got to see like once a year, and who just was always greeting me at a high holiday Rosh Hashanah service that I would go to, and I wasn't a part of that congregation, but I would show up at this service, and he always greeted me in a sea of 600 people, and I felt seen, just even for a second. And then I discovered that one year when I went to the services that this man had died, and I was shocked, and it And I was sitting in my living room thinking about him, and I closed my eyes and I started seeing his eyes were like blue crystal. They were amazing, he had these amazing eyes. And I just started looking into his eyes and I started hearing these words. And I look into the faces of the ones I love. And I picked up my guitar and I just started singing a song, just using that phrase. And I look in the faces of the ones I love. And I looked in his eyes for a long time. And then I just started allowing faces to appear before me in my mind. And so first I'm looking at family members and friends and people I love, and then just people from all different times in my life, to the point where after 20 minutes I'm just sitting there in tears because all I feel is love. I got to the place, and this is hard to describe, but I got to a place where there was no polarity, where there was no opposite of love. There was only love.
Hmm.
And it was really, really powerful because that was it. That was all there was. And it was, and I realized ultimately that's where we are all going. I do believe that. And so I
Oh,
asked
me.
myself, can I be that source of love now?
Hmm.
What
Yeah,
can I do to get there in every circumstance and situation that presents itself in my life? That's powerful work.
it
Can't
is
do it
power.
100%, can't do it always, do it the best I can.
Yes, exactly. One of my favorite lines from any movie ever made is from Ghost. And it's at the end when he's telling her that love that you have in your heart, you take it with you. And I fully believe that. I believe that we connect in with the oneness when we leave these human bodies, and all that we take is our love. We
I
take that,
like that.
and everything is transmuted. I know that we're going to have to process our experience that we have in these lifetimes, but the love is what is the fullness of it and what covers all of it. And nothing material, nothing else that we have on this earth makes a difference other than how much we are loving. How, how,
Yeah.
how much did I love in this life? That's what's going to matter at the very end.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of truth in those words. A lot of truth. One of the things that you were talking about earlier was about it's what were the words you used? Like love is what we are, or our thoughts. I forgot the exact quote you used about our thoughts are it's not what we want, it's but who we are that
We don't
attracts.
we don't manifest from what we want. We
That's
manifest
right.
what we are.
So,
Yeah.
I was speaking, I wanted to address that because I was speaking for the Dowsers Conference, National Dowsers Conference. Those are the people, the water witchers, and they go out into the field with the sticks. And when they get to a water below, their sticks cross. They're like L-shaped sticks,
Right.
and that they use. And I was speaking for the Dowsers. I'm not a dowser actually, but I was speaking for them for their conference. And Harold McCoy, he has since passed, but he was leading one of the dowsing workshops with 10 dowsers and they were meeting at the University of Santa Cruz when the college was closed during the summer. The university was closed. And so he gave these 10 dowsers the assignment. They're in the field. And he said, somewhere out in this giant field, I have constructed the thought form of a wall. Go find it. And the dowsers walked all over the field, and all of a sudden, they found the area where he had constructed the thought form of a wall.
Mm-hmm.
What I learned from that is that our thoughts are so real. Remember, it's energy. It can be picked up. It can be picked up by a dowsing rod.
Yes.
So, what does that say about what we can contribute? What are we contributing to the giant soup of the collective unconscious all around us that is composed of all data from everything, everywhere, and in all time? What are we contributing? Are we contributing our love? Are we contributing our lack of forgiveness, our anger, our joy? What expression, what emotion, what thoughts are we putting into that giant field? And what do we want to be putting into that field?
I love this. Yes,
Yes.
and Yeah, we right now, and I know you're aware of what we're doing with 10 million for world peace, where we're putting out energy every day to send peace and loving thoughts into the world, and especially into our world leaders. So you're sharing something that is so monumental regarding our mission, because we say it, but here you come and you give us an example of it in reality, where it forms something. Anytime we put a thought out there, it forms something. It becomes form. And I've always
I,
said thoughts become things.
right at the beginning of COVID, the terrifying aspects of COVID, and people were dying everywhere and on ventilators. And I sat in meditation and in prayer and in meditation, and I offered my breath to people who couldn't breathe.
Yeah,
I felt like I can contribute this into the collective field. I'm just going to breathe.
yeah,
And, does it do anything? I sure hope it does.
it does.
You know,
Yeah, yeah, I know it
I offered
does.
my breath. What can we offer? Each of us has something we can offer.
Yeah, and it doesn't cost a dime. You know, we can sit in meditation and send loving thoughts to the world. It doesn't cost us anything. It's a few
Yes,
minutes of our time. That's
yes,
it. Yeah. Oh, well, thank you for doing that, because I know it made a difference. I know it did. I know the love that we send out makes a difference. And I know
yes.
that shows like this, where we talk about positive things and what can we do? What are some practical things we can do to make a difference in the world? Somebody's going to hear that and it's going to click. And maybe it never clicked before. So these examples that you're giving and these stories that you're sharing, thank you, because it really brings it home that it's important how we are, what we are inside. It's what is showing up in the world for us because we're manifesting that.
Artists art, dancers dance, musicians music,
Hmm.
contribute in the forms of beauty, in the forms of joy, in the forms of peace. It's interesting because one of the things that I learned in my life uh, has to do about truth, and that and it occurred for me in terms of relationships I knew I was in a relationship that was wrong for me, but I couldn't extricate myself from it. This is back in the 90s. It was so painful. I didn't want to hurt the other person. I for whatever reason, whether it was karmic, whatever. And finally, I had to face the truth and say, this isn't just not the right relationship for me. You're a wonderful, loving soul. You're a wonderful person, but it's not right for me. And it was so hard to do. But what I learned from that experience is that the truth, if it is the truth, it always, and I mean always, leads to peace. Always,
Hmm.
always. It may not lead there immediately. There may be like a free fall in between. And for me, there was a long free fall with that.
Yeah,
But it led to peace because
right.
the truth, if it's the truth, will always lead to peace. Always.
Hmm. Yeah, it is. And the truth will set you free. I mean, those are very true
And,
words.
and this is tough. This could be really, really tough stuff. Like I stayed in that relationship way longer than I knew I should have, just to
Yeah.
make sure I did it again years and years later too. Because guess what? Human being.
Oh, Randy, we've got so much in common, girl.
Yes. But the truth is, the peace is the truth. It really
Yes.
is.
Hmm. Yeah, it truly
And when you can
is.
finally get to that truth, wow, the freedom and the peace and the joy and the beginning of all good things can really open for you. That's what I learned from me. Everything in my life that was positive and wonderful opened up as a result,
Yes.
but not while I was hanging on to what I knew was a lie for me.
Yeah. We have to allow it. We have a saying, and I think it comes from A Course in Miracles, but one of our peas, we're all peas in a pea pod, and one of our peas shared this saying, accept, align, allow. And sometimes it's that allowing part that's kind of difficult for us, isn't it? Because
Well,
I can
it's
do this on my own.
it's very interesting because I actually talk about allowing in the talk that I give on one of my books. The second book I wrote was called The Power of Miracle Thinking. And I do a lot of dreams. So I had a dream and I woke up and in the dream I had seen the letters INSIST, insist, on a Scrabble board. And I woke up saying to myself, what is it that I want so much? And I'm absolutely willing to insist that it happen. Because when we have that level of passion and intensity and truth, that is what we are going to create. It's an
Right.
absolute priority. What is it I'm willing to absolutely insist upon it happening? But then I
Yeah.
realized, at that time in my life, oh, I want a relationship. And then, so I call this the Ruth Ira, because Ruth is my middle name and the IRA is an acronym. So we have insistence. Then the problem is resistance. And the resistance, the R is, I really want a relationship. Oh, I don't want to have my heart broken again. I don't want to hurt anybody else either. So wherever we create that, yes, give it to me. No, not like that. We're creating a yes, but, and it stops the energy from flowing. And
Yeah.
so I asked myself at that time in my life, in terms of a relationship, I asked, well, A, what is it I'm truly willing to allow? And I realized in terms of a relationship, I was willing to allow conversation with a new person. I was willing to allow a dinner with a new person, a phone call, and maybe holding hands. So I was very truthful about and gentle with myself about
Yeah.
boundaries and about what I was truly willing to allow. And it moved me forward in the right direction. So that allowing doesn't have, it can be like the giant, let's take a huge risk kind of experience, but it can also be a very gentle baby step.
Right.
And it's about just listening to your own truth, which is, what is it I'm truly willing to allow? Not what others think I should allow, but what I'm willing to allow.
Right. Right. Yeah. Just questioning everything inside, like
Yes.
your motives, and then doing the self love and the self compassion, the self care.
Yep.
This is so beautiful. Um, we have a question from an audience member from the story you told before. She says, "Hey, I found someone who mentioned a water witch. I would love to know more."
Yes, there's, you can look up, I think it's called National Dowsers Association or Association of National Dowsers. I don't know. I'm not really connected with them. I gave that talk a lot of years ago. I've probably given over 500 talks, so I don't remember specifically. But it's powerful stuff, and I've seen just amazing results with dowsing. So
I have two.
unfortunately, many of the dowsers are passing on. They're in their 80s and they
Yeah,
carry so much wisdom. Oh my God, they have so much wisdom.
yeah.
So,
I don't know if you're familiar with Pam Grout's book E Squared, but one of the
no.
experiments that she has you do is dowsing. And I thought that was interesting. I had never really played with it before. I knew what it was, but I'd never done it
Mm.
before until I read her book.
One thing I know about dowsing, some people do body dowsing or they do like finger dowsing and things like this. I tried it one time and I even saying, my name is Randy, my arm was going down like, no, it's not. And I went to speak to the teacher and he said, go to the back of the room, grab water because you have to be very hydrated to get correct information. So I thought, oh, that's interesting. In fact, I should take a sip of my tea.
Yeah, the water and also grounding your energy with breath and sinking into the earth energy before you do it. I do something called the sway, and you use your body to give you the answers. And yeah, it's very interesting. I've been using it for years, but I never called it dowsing. It was just a way to get your yes
Yeah,
or no.
yeah, yeah. See, I see a
Oh,
woman saying someone mentioned I was a water witch. Well, cool.
you are, Robin. You're an amazing person.
Yeah.
She is one of our P's.
Yes,
And since
very
you're with
nice.
us, you're an honorary P for peace.
Yeah, there's different forms of muscle testing and dowsing. I mean, some people, like when you mentioned the swaying, they stand and they ask their body, "Show me a yes," and they lean
Yeah,
forward, or just see where you lean, and then, "Okay, body, show me a no," and then, like for me, I lean backwards, and
right. Yeah,
good to test it out
it
on a whole
is.
bunch of things that you know to be true, and see, make sure your body is giving you correct information.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, because we get distracted so easily. So we have to keep the focus when we're doing this dowsing or muscle testing, the sway or whatever. Keep your focus, and then you're going to
yes.
get the correct answers.
Oh,
Yeah.
all of us are pretty much live in squirrel, squirrel, squirrel. I mean,
Oh my gosh.
doom scrolling, just how, everything, just,
Yeah, and we find that even in meditation. I've been meditating for, oh my gosh, most of my life, and I still sometimes, if something is really profound happening around me, I still have that tendency to let my attention go, oh, what's going on over there, instead
yeah,
of staying in that
yeah.
state of meditation. And it's a skill. We develop all of these skills and all these tools that we can use in life, and it's just practice, practice, practice.
So the question is being asked, what was the name of the group research? So it was in the Ozarks, something about the Ozark Mountain Center. Harold McCoy, who has since passed on. If you look up his name, Harold McCoy, it's probably M small c capital COY. It
Right.
was his center, Ozark Research Center, something like that.
Hmm.
That 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 he was the one that led that particular workshop. But I know it's Ozark something. If it's still, even if it still exists, I can't tell you. But I know that there, at least up until COVID times, there was a national Dowsers Association. I don't know if it was called Association of National Dowsers, what it was. You know, because so many things shifted over COVID times.
Yeah, I've seen somebody on TikTok that does it. So Robin, jump on there and Google it, search it, and see if you can find that person, because she does it regularly. Yeah, it's
Huh.
a real skill, and you're using your intuition and just tuning into spirit to get the answers. Yeah, that's what we do when we muscle test. Also, it's our subconscious that's giving us the answers.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. You know, one of the things that I learned many years ago was, if you have somebody in your life who is a difficult person, to this woman, Mary Kelly, and I actually mentioned her in my first book, my Crappy to Happy book. She said, she heard, imagine they're an angel. I mean, get a visual of them being an angel. And years ago, I'm not talking about many years ago, I was working a job where there was a woman, and she was a, another one who was just like a nightmare to work with. And I imagined she was an angel. And what I saw was she had this little teeny tiny curly cute tail. She had little ears and a little pig snout. And I realized she was a piggy angel. So I figured, if she's a piggy angel, what am I? And I had my eyes closed, and I got this immediate image of a brain jackass. And I realized, great, jackass is stubborn, it's persevering, and it can't be budged. And so
Right.
whenever this woman kind of came at me with whatever her agenda was of the day, I just saw piggy angel and jackass, and I held my ground. And it really helped me.
Yeah,
So, if you're dealing with someone who's a difficult person in your life, imagine they're an angel. What kind of angel are they? What kind of angel are you?
I love that. Wow, so
There,
many
there's, yeah,
tips that we.
yes. There's a line from A Course in Miracles. It's my favorite. And in my defenselessness, my safety lies.
Mm, yeah,
And,
I love, I
in
love that.
regards to that person, that was something that I used with her. The
Yeah,
name of the book, my first book was called Crappy to Happy. But you have to put my name in an Amazon search bar. Otherwise, I was the first Crappy to Happy book, but since my book came out, there's been a lot of Crappy to Happy books. So my name, Randy Peyser, needs to be in the search bar. Otherwise, my book won't come up.
right. And if you didn't get the spelling of Randy's name, it's Randy with the Y. I'm going to type it in here for everyone.
Oh, okay.
And
Thank
Peyser,
you.
Peyser, and just look her up on Amazon and go get her books. I'm
Oh,
excited
that's
about
sweet.
this.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Power of Miracle Thinking, my second book, is also it's a wonderful book. I interviewed like 40 people, something like that. And I wanted to know, like, here's like a 2 to 3 page, 4 page story of a miracle that happened for them: relationship, career, housing. A fire burns 500,000 acres. There's a house in the middle of it that doesn't get touched. What? And I wanted to know, like, what were the thoughts that people were thinking, or their beliefs, their attitudes, and the actions they took that allowed what I call the doors of grace to open.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just this book full of it has like stories with 3 miracle thinking tips, which are insights or action steps based on each of those stories. And it's just it's a really powerful book, The Power of Miracle Thinking. So yeah, that was the second book that I wrote, and Carolyn Mace endorsed it for people who follow the Mind Body Spirit New York Times bestselling authors. That was really lovely.
Yes. Well, I can't wait to check out all of your books and talk to you more
That's
about
sweet.
book publishing. Like I say, I have a couple that will be ready soon, and then one that's in the works. So yeah. So
You know,
anybody out there that is
I
thinking
love getting
about,
people. What's that?
yeah, anyone out there that's listening or that will listen later, and you're thinking about publishing a book, I highly suggest you get in touch with Randy today. Or
I love getting people book deals. I love getting first time authors book deals because I can open doors for people that they just cannot open for themselves. And why? Because I have over 20 years of connections of doing it. And they're all, first name connections. They're people, that I say we give likes to each on Facebook to each other's warm, fuzzy dog pictures. I mean, these are real relationships that I have.
yeah,
I mean, just pre-COVID, I was in New York. I had 25 meetings in 2.5 days, 22 meetings with publishers, 3 with top literary agents, pitching 16 projects. This is my playground. That's my fun. So, and
yeah.
I
I
sell
can
my
see you
body
there.
spirit.
Yeah, I can
Yeah,
see
I
you there.
sell.
You have this elemental energy, like this little
Yes.
fairy. And I can just see you flitting around and getting their attention in just the right
Oh yeah.
way and
Oh
making the
yeah.
sell.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Well, like when I would go there, I would have all my appointments set up in advance, and so yeah, I could flit around. Other people were like kind of frantic and frenzied, but I was flitting.
Right. I see it. Yeah.
With
Beautiful.
hugs. These are people, they're real
Yes.
relationships with people like Randy. What do you have for me this year? That kind of thing. And
Oh,
since COVID happened, I'm so grateful because I still have all those connections, years and years of connections. So now it's all email. It's all email.
yeah.
So
Wow.
yeah, and
I love it.
I've given over 500 talks on how to get a book deal with a publisher. So something that I love to do, and I love to empower people so they can get those deals.
Exactly. We can, what's the saying? You can give a man a fish, but if you teach him to fish, he has that. And
Yeah.
so teaching is a big part of the publishing industry. How to do it right, how to open doors, how to
Yes.
find that right
Yes.
public.
And
Yeah.
I mean, I'm so motivated by the thought of helping others make their impact because, there's so many of us who want to help the world, change the world, shift the energy, shift the conversation, whatever. And I'm in a place where I can really make that difference for people who are willing to allow themselves to step into that arena.
Right. Beautiful. So, Randy, we are coming up on the top of the hour here really fast, and I don't want to leave without you sharing with everyone how they can get in touch with you and, just any
Yeah, I mean,
websites. I know I've got your
yeah,
website scrolling, but if there's other
author one
information.
stop. It's
Yeah.
so easy. Just go to my contact page on Author One Stop and just reach out. That's really easy. Author1stop.com. What I would really like to share in closing is that I have a come from place with everyone. And this may be something that you might want to, if you're listening, just tweak for yourself and use for yourself in some way. I ask for divine right clients for whom I can create phenomenal results. That's my come from place with everyone. So when I'm looking for somebody's publisher, I am asking for their divine right publisher, their divine right alignment. So divine right clients for whom I can create phenomenal results. That's me. And
Yeah.
so I have no attachment and no agenda outside of helping somebody to achieve what is highest and best for them, depending on their goals. That's it. And so
Beautiful.
to come from that place of no attachment with people and just to show up as love as the best you can in the ways that you can, that's it. That's why we're
Yeah.
here.
That's beautiful. And it shows you're so full of compassion and love. Thank you. Thank you for joining us today. This has been a delight to meet with you and
Thank you.
introduce you to our P's and anyone else who tuned in to listen. And Randy, it's just such a delight to know you and to interact with you. You're a blessing to the world, and I appreciate
Thank you.
that. And the things that
Thank
you've
you.
shared with us today, they're all empowering stories. So for anyone who's coming in late to the ball game, please watch the replay. And if you think someone could benefit from these words that Randy spoke today, share it with them. Share the link so they can come in and listen to it as well. Our podcast does go out in many places, so I'm hoping that there's someone out there who just needed to hear this word today, who just
Yes.
needed to know
Good.
you are loved. You are loved, and you're magnificent, and you are worthy. So take that to heart and come back next week. I have a lot of new guests coming in that I want to introduce you all to. Randy's starting us off here, and what a blessing to have you with us and to really share love today. That's the beginning of world peace, when we can hold love in our hearts and up our vibration, then we're bringing in more peace. So thank you everyone for being here. Thank you, Randy. So much love to you and appreciation for what you do in our world. So stay in your hearts.
Thank you.
That's where the blessing is. And we leave you with namaste, y'all. Bye, everyone.